This is a short video on polyatomic ions. Part of chemistry is learning a new language, and polyatomic ions are part of that new language. First off, let's break down what this means. Poly, many, and then atomic, atom, and then ions, that's a charged particle. So you can see that these things have negative charges on them. -3, -2, -1. There's even a +1 and a +2 down here. So that's what makes them ions. They are not neutral. They have an electrical charge. Let's take these first two. Nitrate and nitrite. You've probably heard of nitrates before. So what does this suffix ate mean? And what does this suffix ite mean? Well, it might mean a 2 for the ite and a 3 for the ate, except it doesn't, because when I move down to the next one, sulfate and sulfite, I've got a 3 for the ite and a 4 for the ate. So in reality, ate means more and ite means less. More and less of what? It's oxygen. With all of these, we're talking about the number of oxygens. So I've got an atom that makes a polyatomic ion with oxygen in various numbers. All right, so when I look down here at this phosphate and this phosphite, the 8 has one more oxygen than the ite does. All right. What if there's more than 2 options? What if I've got, instead of just 2 and 3 as my options, I have over here with the chlorines, I've got a 3 and a 4 and a 2 and a 1. All right, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide them up into 8s and ites. So I'll have half of these be 8s and the other half be ites. So these ones on top are going to have more and the ones on the bottom are have less. So great, I've cut them in half, but now how do I cut those halves in half? So this means more, this prefix. And this prefix means small, like a hypodermic needle. So when we're looking at the suffixes and the prefixes, this means more. That means more. So this one means more, this one means more, but this one means more. So that's the most oxygen on this. This is less, and this is small less. So the least amount of oxygen. Once you get these 4 down, the nice thing about it is these 4 turn out to be set up in the same way. And then the same thing with these 4, set up in the same way. I'll point a couple of other things out on here. One, if it says hydrogen in the front of one of these things, it just means that I've got this thing that I talked about before, that sulfate, and it's got a hydrogen on it. When you add a hydrogen, you're going to remove a charge. So here I've got this guy with an H on it and one less oxygen than this guy here that's got no H on him. And they're both sulfates. But since this is a hydrogen sulfate, I take away a charge. We've got acetate written here twice, and that's because one of these is a little bit better to understand what's going on. What I mean by that is this is just showing me how many carbons, hydrogens, and oxygens and what the charge of the acetate is. Here, I get a little more information. So I've got a carbon that's bonded to 3 different H's, and then to a carbon, and then to an oxygen, and also to another oxygen. And all of this has a minus charge. So this just helps you, this guy here just helps you understand what the shape of this molecule is, where this one doesn't assist you with the shape. So most chemists actually use this version, but just in case you see somebody who doesn't, I've got both of them on here. And then the last thing with this, I got a couple that are positively charged. So the ammonium ion, which is the charged portion of ammonia, you might find in Windex. And then we've got this mercury 1. Now, the weird thing about this is it says mercury 1, but the charge means +1, but this charge says +2. So this is definitely the most confusing of these. What I have here is a mercury, and since there's a subscripted 2, it means there's another mercury bonded to it. And this whole thing has a +2 charge. So what that ends up doing is each one of these mercuries has a +1 charge. So together they've got a +2 charge, but they're connected to each other. So that's why we get the +2 charge. But since each one of the mercuries only has a +1 charge, we're going to say that it's mercury 1. It's very weird, but we'll talk about it more later. Thanks.